I took the first step. I made that move, the bold move of drinking camel milk for the very first time, fresh from a camel at someone's camel farm, right? And when I took the first few sips, something happened immediately to my body. I got better pretty much straight away. I wasn't having those stomach cramps, those issues with my gut, having a lot of, bad experience and so on and so forth. And I thought, why didn't nobody tell me this before?
I was, kind of all by myself. It was a very difficult time. Being a newly single mother of a child with autism is very, very difficult. And so I had been flying this milk in and stockpiling it, waiting to give it to him with scientific reporting. But I didn't have that opportunity. He started regressing, which happens in autism, endangering himself. I actually ended up giving it to him out of desperation one night. I gave him 4 ounces at bedtime, about 120 milliliters, with kind of just mixed expectations. I was so exhausted. I almost had, kind of lost a lot of hope. The next day when he woke up, he was unbelievably better. Within 3 days, he could walk the street. He said, "Let go, Mom," because you often have to hold on to that child with autism.
Yeah,
They'll dart in
sure.
front of the car. "Let go, Mom," and he looked both ways and he could cross the street.
Hi, and I'd like to welcome you guys today to the Islam Channel podcast. And we have heard a lot about you guys and your background, but obviously for the benefit of the people watching today on the podcast, I would like to start with a little bit about your background. So we have Christina Adams here, and if you could tell us a little bit about your journey and a little bit about your connection with the camel milk.
Very nice to be here. I appreciate it, Shaz. So my name is Christina Adams. I'm from America. I have had a past government and aerospace career, media, things like this. But I turned into science and psychology and biology when my son was diagnosed with autism. So ever since then, I have both researched the world of autism and done a lot of things to discuss that, which is the topic of my first book, A Real Boy. Then I had the idea about camel milk helping my son's autism and other things. So now I have been an award-winning speaker, writer, researcher, and have spent many decades now, actually 2 decades, in the world of camel milk and researching the cultural aspects of camels, the scientific aspects of camels and their products. And so my book won a Nautilus Book Award, Camel Crazy, and what else? Anyway, it's always not fun to talk about ourselves. But
no, but it's great
yeah.
because it's great to have an intro done by yourselves, to know a little bit more. And, being an award-winning author, writer, is no little thing. It's an amazing thing. And we're very honored and fortunate to have you guys here today. And obviously, aside to, the awards and the attention that this has bringing, and you've got this book out, which is a great book as well, that's giving us a lot of information about your journey. But tell us a little bit. But why did you look into this?
Well, one of the reasons I opened the way I did with having a past career and then changing, it was basically motherhood that brought me to this point of doing what I had to do. My goal for myself was become a professor and write the great American novel. Instead, I got my graduate degree, but boom, I went ahead and had a child and all these things, but it just happened. Autism came into my life. So this is really a story of a mother and my determination just from the get-go of this diagnosis to make sure I went anywhere and did anything I could to help my son. And then naturally, I realized other people were not getting this information that I was uncovering. So I started writing about that in the LA Times, National Public Radio, all these things, and then started writing my 2 books from there. So basically, I guess it's an unexpected career path, but here I am, and I just wanted everyone to have the chance to live a healthier life, to learn about getting their children better if they have autism, but also now the amazing qualities of camel milk, which I've kind of uncovered myself. And it's just something I do for passion that people ask me to do. I do it because there's a need there. So this is how it is, and I never would have told you that I would be doing camel milk for 20 years, but in October it will be my anniversary of 20 years in this
wonderful,
world.
wonderful that is. And we're going to go into more details about that with yourself, Christina. But first we're going to go to Mudassir, and you are the founder of Hump Group. So do tell us about how did you guys come to know each other?
Well, assalamu alaikum, first and foremost, everybody that's listening and watching this podcast. So yes, my name is Mudassir Yasin, or Mudathir in Arabic, as they tend to call me when I'm in the Middle East. Or they call me Birmingham's Camel Sheikh, which I've been given a title by the media. And also I've been given a special title by the Bedouins of the Gulf. when I'm over there, which is used in many different circles. But I mean, we've been knowing each other now for over 10 years.
2015.
2015.
We did a Zoom.
We did a Zoom call, and I was helping an autistic group back in Birmingham, and Christina was on the Zoom call, and she had somehow come across me.
Oh, I think it was the other way around.
It was destiny.
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 Destiny. Yes.
Two star-crossed camel milk fans from across the ocean.
The camels connected you.
That's right. That's right. And you know, we've had a great working relationship to date. We both you know, work well together, and the fact that we both have a common purpose in life in terms of what we're doing as a passion. My background, I mean, I studied economics at university, international business at the University of Bradford many years ago, and I've worked in the civil service. I was a civil servant once upon a time. I'm currently working in the medical industry in a strategic role, you know, for a medical devices company. You know,
A bit more techie, really.
A bit more techie. It's not like Camel, it's more techie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you know, my experience with camels and the camel milk goes back to about 20 years, same as Christina. And that story it's a story in itself, because what can I tell you was that when I was at university in Bradford, I met, by chance, like Christina, maybe destined to meet this gentleman from the UAE. His name, you know, they call him Abu Rashid. His kunya, as you say, his name, Abu Rashid. He's from the UAE, from Al Ain. And at that time, I was going through some difficult periods with my health, my own personal health. You know, being at university, it's very stressful, and it's very,
yeah,
you know,
it is a very stressful time.
It's
for
not an easy
students.
period, especially when you're young and you just want to, you know, just live life, you know, and get on with things. And he knew I was going through a very bad spell. A lovely chap. We still keep in touch after all these years. And he said to me, Mudathir, my name in Arabic, Mudathir, can you do me one thing? I was like, I can't do anything for you possibly. I don't have the means or the ability. You know, I'm a poor student. What can I do for you? He said, Mudathir, go to the UAE. I was like, Abu Rashid, leesh yani? Why? He said, just go to the UAE. Go to my family. They'll sort you out. They'll look after you. It's like, Abu Rashid, look, I don't have any money. I'm a poor student. I'm studying at university. I have no business in the UAE. You know, I don't have a job, or, you know, what do you want me to do there? He goes, Mudathir, yalla, ruh, go. He kindly invited me there. He paid for my ticket as well. He was very generous. May God give him more. And when I went there, like, obviously nobody knew about the UAE or about Dubai back in those days. It was like nothing. There's nothing there. Just plain desert. You know, just an empty desert.
Yeah.
You know,
Depending
like
how back you go.
2004. You know, and I arrived. They picked me up from the airport. They took me to the city, which is called Al Ain. It's roughly an hour or so from Dubai, and I was taken to their family home. Mashallah, very beautiful home. May God give them more and more in both lives. We went to their farm, camel farm. That was the first time I saw so many camels in my life, like more than 100 camels on that farm. And, you know, when I arrived, we're in the desert called the Uzba, the Barq, the desert in Arabic. And I learned Arabic all the years, which as a second or a third language, by living with them. And when I arrived, the first thing that they did was, as per their hospitality and their tradition, was offer guests a bowl of camel milk. I looked at
Wonderful.
it. It came in a very nice, you know, silver bowl. There was like foam on the top. It was fresh.
So it was that fresh. I know that because I've had fresh camel milk, so I know it's got the foam and the bubbles at the top.
Exactly. It was freshly milked. I saw them milking with my own two eyes.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I ever saw a camel being milked, like in real life. He brought it over to me, and the elder said, he said, Mudathir ishrab al-halib, drink the milk, the camel milk. I was a bit hesitant. I was like, I don't really want this. You know, what I'm going to do with the camel milk? You know, I'm happy with, well, not happy, but I'm happy with what I've been drinking in terms of the other dairy. You know, because Mudathir, we know your situation. You need to like get better, and you know, just drink it. So
they got you on the camel milk.
They got me hooked on the camel milk. Not got me. They got me hooked on that very first day. And
And it's from then.
So he said he felt better immediately.
I felt better, better immediately. And how that happened was, honestly, like, you can't describe these
Did they
experiences.
tell you? Did they tell you before you drank that camel milk is?
I knew nothing about camel milk back then. They just like
I was just trying to see if it's
No,
a
no, no,
placebo
I-
effect, or was it?
No,
because
no,
you
no.
didn't-
I had no knowledge about the camel milk or what it was probably good for and its benefits. They just said mudathir. I trusted them because obviously
Yeah.
I was recommended by my friend and so on and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
forth. And before I took a few sips, I said Bismillah in the name of God.
Yes.
And I was still very hesitant and somewhat nervous, but yeah, I did it anyway. I took the first step. I made that move, the bold move of drinking camel milk for the very first time, fresh from a camel at someone's camel farm, right? And when I took the first few sips, something happened immediately
Oh gosh.
to my body,
Yeah, yeah.
right? What happened was I felt this coolness coming through my body and my body becoming more energized. And I felt that I got better pretty much straight away. I wasn't having those stomach cramps, those issues with my gut, having a lot of bad experience and so on and so forth. And I was I was very, very tired before then because of my health issues that I was going through. And like they got me hooked on it, and I thought, why didn't nobody tell me this before?
Yeah.
You-
Well,
you-
it's I guess this is where your camel milk journey began then, with
Yes.
your own experience then.
That's right.
But just before we go more into that and how you came and brought that back here, back in the UK, I'm going to come back to Christina just, because you've traveled quite extensively. And I wanted to know, was that due to your research on camel milk, or was that you trying, was that just you learning more about the, other benefits or other cures or medicines out there, for other health benefits and stuff. But was that really specifically around camel milk that you took those journeys?
It has been because first of all, when I started this, it was at a little college in California. I went to a little book fair and there was a camel there. And I had the idea to get the milk from the Middle East after seeing the guy selling soap and lotion, and he said it might be non-allergenic and used in hospitals for premature babies. So I had to work and find it, flew it in from Bedouins, gave it to my son. He got better overnight. Amazing. But I had started looking for camels in America, and I couldn't find any. But then I taught a business class at a local university, and the students did a project, and then they said, you need to get down to this camel farm in California. Just go, just call them. And so I called them, and they were kind of hesitant because a lot of people would call them and try to buy their camels. But I said, look, I'm a mother, and I'm trying to do this. And they said, come down. So that was my first time I was around camels in California. But the owner, this is Oasis Camel Dairy in California, the owner had a Yemeni background, and so he grew up around camels later in his life. So that started my journey, and I met nomadic people, and then they invited me, like the Somali community in San Diego. So I spent a lot of time with them. And then I started traveling internationally because some people would invite me. So after I published this, my next articles, which set out a boom around the world in the use of camel milk, then I wrote a science article a year later, and I was invited to Dubai to see this really massive, amazing camel farm, Camelicious. And so then I went to India and Dubai, and so people have invited me. Sometimes my travels are, funded by people who want to come and have me do science work and discuss and speak to the media or deal with them. It's all these things I do together. Sometimes if I'm traveling, I get invited out to the camel places and I go there.
I mean, I'm just wondering also that, in terms of your research, what are the things that you found in terms of that connected the benefits of the milk with science?
Right. So in the very beginning, this was just my idea. Based on my background in studying milk and in its role in autism spectrum disorders and other things like food allergies, which is also connected. So this was just my idea in the beginning, that milk might help my son. Then a few months later, I came across a brand new article that had been used in the Middle East among a small group of autistic people, and they got better. It was just a short-term article, so I thought, at least I'm on the right path. So there really was no research. You couldn't find anything other than that thing, which came later. So then going around the world, I slowly uncovered, okay, there's some studies on diabetes coming out of India. There's things like that. But basically, there wasn't really much about it until 2012, there came a study out of the Middle East, Dr. Layla Al-Ayadhi. She's in Saudi Arabia. Now I've had the good fortune of meeting her and lecturing with her. But I saw this study online and I wrote to her. And she said, yes, it's not quite published yet, but you can break the news of this at a conference in America that I was speaking at. So I did in 2012.
So I'm just wondering, for clarity then, so there's been real studies of people that do the study, the research, the science that conducted or facilitated these actual experiments. So you've kind of shared your experience with them and explained or showed them that how it's benefited yourself and your son in his own autistic journey, how great it's been. So you kind of collaborated with them.
I have. And the science article I wrote, which was after the first article that was set out the boom in the use of milk, the camel milk, the science article was called it was in Global Advances in Health and Medicine, and it was called Autism Spectrum Disorder Treated with Camel Milk. That was authored by only me, but it was a real science journal article because I had a background in all this different type of writing. So now that article continues to get cited. It's been cited several times, maybe between 35 to 50, depending on which source is reporting. It's still getting cited. So that really set off interest among a lot of scientists around the world.
I mean, it's
and
fascinating.
then I have published more science articles since then, sometimes co-authored with scientists, that have the proper letters after their name. And one of those is new treatments for autism that are like alternative treatments. And then I have another one on camel-assisted interventions for people that need help. Yeah. And a new one on halal, the halal use of camel milk, which has not been established really. Everyone knows it's halal. No one has talked about camels and camel milk in the halal world. So I have a brand new publication on the opportunities for camels in the halal market.
I mean, that would be very interesting to know a bit more about this. But I wanted to know a bit more about your specific experience with the camel milk. I mean, I know that you shared about your son is on the spectrum, and did it somewhat cure or it's helped reverse some of these symptoms? What did it do? What changes did you see from when your son started taking the milk?
Absolutely.
And how long?
Great question. This is the part that everybody wants to know. So I was, kind of all by myself. It was a very difficult time. Being a newly single mother of a child with autism is very, very difficult. And so I had been flying this milk in and stockpiling it, waiting to give it to him with scientific reporting. But I didn't have that opportunity. He started regressing, which happens in autism, endangering himself, climbing on 40-foot walls and running out in the street. And so I actually ended up giving it to him out of desperation one night. I gave him 4 ounces at bedtime, about 120 milliliters, with kind of just mixed expectations. I was so exhausted. I almost had, kind of lost a lot of hope. The next day when he woke up, he was unbelievably better. His motor skills were better. And that's fine and gross motor. That means your hand movements and your large body movements.
I mean, how do you take it? Because initially they don't like dairy. They don't like dairy products.
Well, I had taken all the cow milk away from him years ago, which made a great improvement in his health. That's something I outlined in my book, A Real Boy. So he hadn't had anything but potato powdered milk for a long time. So I didn't tell him it was camel milk. Don't ever tell your child you're giving him camel milk. Just do it. But that morning he sat down at the table and he said, "Mom, I really love you. You do so much for me. You make my food, you make my medicine. You're really great." And I had started dating a wonderful man who would leave it in the evening after helping put my son to bed, show up in the morning, start helping him get ready for school, which I never asked for. What a wonderful human. We've now been married for a while.
Oh, wow,
and
that's beautiful.
So he was there too that morning. He came over in the morning and he saw it too. And my son said, "You're both so great. You do so much for me." He was eating more neatly. He put on his own shoes. He got his own backpack. And he said, "Who's taking me to school? Who's picking me up?" All these things are not things you normally see from a child with autism. And so,
I mean, just for some clarity, Christina, was he on any kind of medication or anything else?
My son was a very highly tracked individual. He was on regular medications. He was under the care of a doctor every 8 weeks. We had blood work. We had data reporting from schools, from therapies. This is all detailed in my book, A Real Boy, but he was the most documented child. And so this is why I controlled all the variables to do my own science experiment. I didn't change anything else. I didn't tell school. I didn't tell therapy people. I didn't tell anyone that he was on this milk. So this way, when the reports started coming back from school, they were unbiased. When reports came from, speech therapy or whatever, it was unbiased. My son got so much better. Within 3 days, he could walk the street. He said, "Let go, Mom," because you often have to hold on to that child with autism. They'll dart in front of the car. "Let go, Mom." And he looked both ways and he could cross the street. So his skin cleared up. His eye contact was better. My husband says that was the first time they ever had a really reciprocal, fully, engaged conversation both ways. And so within a few months, it was clear he had a 30% symptom improvement across the board. Because I base this all on my son's checklist, testing, everything. Like, I have massive binders full of my son's information. So that's when I knew, like, this is the really good thing. And over the years, when he would have a problem, like get cow milk accidentally, which can cause things like hand flapping, toe walking, stomach upset, I'd give him the camel milk. 15 minutes, he's better.
Which is something we commonly see with children with autism. But do you consume the milk yourself?
I do. And back then, this was so precious and so expensive. It was raw Bedouin milk from the desert, frozen in bottles. I had to pay like $1,700 to get in the country for each suitcase. And so I thought, one day, maybe I'll just try it instead of saving all of it for him. So I tried it, and I am a super scientific person, I'm telling you, and I don't have underlying health conditions, but I had this weird whooshing sensation through my brain, just a strange thing. And that milk had a lot of like cream around the top. It was really incredible. I never felt anything like it. So I drink it all the time.
I mean, you look very radiant, to be fair. And so it's had a very miraculous effect on yourself and your son.
I just feel good. I feel better on it. I travel with the powder. I always bring it with me, and I've had it from many, many countries. There may be somebody out there that has more camel milk from different countries than I do, but I don't know who that would be. I've had camel milk from so many places, and it's all been very, very good.
I wonder, though, if the camel milk is different in different countries. When you went to the different countries, did you try out the milk?
Absolutely.
In India, when you went to Central Asia?
Absolutely. In any country, I try out camel milk because they all can't wait for me to taste it, and they're all looking at me, or they bring it to me as a gift, or all these amazing things.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And generally, the milk, if it's a fresh, clean milk, it all tastes very clean, and it's all great. Some people say it tastes a little salty. I rarely have that experience. The American milk, also excellent, very clean, fresh. Only time you may not find it is if it just it started grass after a winter of being on alfalfa. You might taste a little grassy, but that's pretty rare. It's all excellent, and there's different types of it. I've even had camel cheese in Mongolia, India, the Middle East. I've had actually fermented horse milk now. I get to try a lot of interesting foods, but camel milk is still my go-to.
Oh, it's all so incredibly fascinating. And Mudassir, I'm just wondering, I mean, you're obviously still on it. You tried it when you were young and you're a student, and you instantly felt goodness in yourself, wellness within yourself. And so I assume you're still taking that, right? Yes.
No, yes, right, of course. No, I drink on a regular basis myself. So, I mean, for me, I'm the kind of person, if I don't try it myself, I can't tell other people about it.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, that's the
me,
first
for
research.
Anybody else.
Yeah. But you brought it here, this idea to Birmingham, where you're from.
Yes.
And, you have the title of being the Camel Sheikh. So tell us, a little bit about that, because I want to go further more into about the Bedouin stuff. But, you brought it to Birmingham, and how was the reaction from the people?
Yeah, so we started up Hump Group in 2015 as a small community business, if you like, and the whole purpose wasn't financially motivated to focus on solely making money. The purpose has been, to this day even, has been about a few things, but the main thing has been about education and awareness. Those are the two principles that we operate on.
Brilliant.
And number three, with our journey, what we're trying to do, what we have been trying to do, is we've been trying to educate people about the importance of the camel, right, and also share the benefits of their milk, of their amazing milk. But you know that the camels they're a miracle in our religion as a Muslim.
Yes.
But don't forget as well that camels are mentioned in all three Abrahamic religions, not just Islam. So all three Abrahamic religions have the importance of camels, but unfortunately people forget. Or they may not be well informed about the importance of the camel.
Yeah, but in some way we don't have access to camels, so it's not something we see here.
You see Shaz, we all read the Quran, and we all listen to the Quran during Ramadan as well, right? And there's so many ayat, many verses in the Quran that mention about the beauty of the camel, the importance of the camel, and how precious it is to Muslims. And we all know the most popular ayah verse in the Quran that Allah says, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبْلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. do not see how the camels are created. We hear that in day out, especially on a Friday when they read that during the Surah Al-Ghashiyah during the Friday prayer. This is one of the sunnahs to read that during the Friday prayer in the congregation. So we do hear the verses of the camel being recited on a regular basis. But as I say, we all forgetful. We all lose in touch with our connection to the religion, or whether it's through our heritage. And we all need a gentle reminder sometimes. So when we first started, and the perception, if you like, from the community, it wasn't great. I will be honest with you. We struggled in the very beginning. We had so many challenges. We
struggled in the sense people wanting to try to make a change, or some people don't want to change. They don't want to switch over.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to say this, but it really makes me very, very, very sad, and I become very somewhat emotional when I think about it, because it wasn't a great experience. And when I first started promoting the camel milk, and we were the first ones to do it in Birmingham, and one of the first in Europe 10 years ago. It became as a novel idea to a lot of people, but the point is, camels and camel milk have been around for years. The Prophet ﷺ, is recognized as a sunnah to drink the camel milk, and there's many hadith about the milk and so on and so forth that we all know about, or we should know about at least.
Yeah.
But to answer your question and to make that point very clear, why I felt distressed, or why I felt, there was no hope, or whether I was just wasting my time, or people were really interested, is because, I mean, what do I say? I mean,
they weren't very excited about it.
They did.
Well, when
Not
I got
everybody, just a couple, right? Yeah.
Well, when we were the first ones to bring the camel milk from Dubai, from the Camel Licious brand, when they got the European approval, into Birmingham, and one of the first in Europe, certainly in Europe as well. I was super excited. I've got camel milk. Come and get it. I was going around to everybody.
Well, also because you experienced it firsthand.
So I was going around, and it started off as a one-man band. It still is a one-man band. We had support from the community. I'll go into later, but it started off as a one-man band, one-man operation. Me and my 3 camels that we saw earlier on during the show. So when I was going around in the community, and I was going to people or to shops, or whether it was going to having community events, I said, "Look, guys, you want to try some camel milk? I've got camel milk here with me." They were like, "What the hell are you on about? What are you on about? Camel milk?"
So they weren't very forthcoming.
No, I'll say it how it is. I mean, when I first started this, right, I was unfortunately verbally abused by members of the community for promoting camels
it's
and
a bit
camel
extreme.
milk. And also, I've been physically abused. I've been spat at by people in public for promoting camel milk. And I thought, look, this isn't on, because the camels have the greatest. We all love animals, and we should love animals and respect all animals.
Yeah,
as
that
as a human
religion
being.
teaches us
yes,
that.
whether you're Christian, Jew, Muslim, whatever you are, animals, have the highest honor and respect and dignity. But the camel itself is very precious, to us as a Muslim. And also we know the benefits of the camel and how important they are. And how they are mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith many a times. I thought, why aren't our own people from our community, or the Muslim community, appreciating or valuing the camel? Or what's wrong with them? Not everybody, obviously. The people that I certainly came across at the beginning of my journey, of my struggle, I was just shot down, dismissed by a lot of people. And they're like, look, you're wasting your time promoting halib and niyag or camel milk. You could do something better with your time, with your life. No one's going to listen to you. Just losing a lot of valuable time.
It's unfortunate for them.
It is unfortunate for
look
them.
Look where you are now.
It is, yes.
And now, we are hearing much more about it. We're seeing camel milk in our shops. We're seeing it in our main big superstores. We're seeing it in our local grocery stores.
Yeah.
So we are seeing it now.
We are seeing it. And you know who started off that?
Unfortunate for them. And who's drinking camel milk now?
Yeah, that's right. But we were supplying shops back in 10 years ago when we first started with the milk from Dubai, when it was freshly pasteurized camel milk, right? And that was for the first year, because there were logistic issues supplying fresh camel milk from Dubai, because they had a shelf life issue, and you couldn't wholesale it, you couldn't sell it to supermarkets, which we were doing initially about 10 years ago. Then we switched to the raw frozen camel milk that we still sell.
This is where I have lots of questions about.
Yeah.
How fresh is fresh?
So
Because even the ones we see in these stores,
Yeah.
it says fresh.
So I'll tell you a story. So the ones in the stores, it was only been released recently a few years ago from the company from Dubai that we were selling about 10 years ago when it was proper camel milk. When I say proper, freshly pasteurized, that was in a large bottle, and it had a 14-day shelf life. But 14 days shipping and everything else, it reduces. So you couldn't really wholesale it. So it was a loss leader, if you like. They stopped supplying Europe because of that main issue. Now what you have in supermarkets, I mean, we were supplying supermarkets back in the days, albeit a small quantity, but we were in there. The one that you have now in those small cans, which is the same one that is manufactured by the company in Dubai, the same branding, Camelicious. I mean, it's a good product, don't get me wrong. Some people might like it, some may not like it. It is what it is. But that camel milk itself, it's UHT, ultra heated. Long life camel milk.
I mean, I'm just, I mean, I know there's these brands out there and stuff, but I'm just wondering in terms of freshness, because as I said, we see on the back, it's on the labels, it's saying it's fresh, and then you can see here and there's things that are added. Of course, it has to have some sort of shelf life as well. But how fresh is the fresh that you're talking about?
Very fresh. I mean, it comes, they milk the camels, the freezer milk, they send it to us.
Yeah, but from the journey, obviously it's coming from overseas.
Yeah.
So is it coming frozen from there?
It comes to us frozen.
All right, so it comes frozen, and then you keeping it frozen, and then that's how you guys are distributing it.
So we sell it online. We don't sell it to any supermarkets anymore. We don't do any sort of Amazon or online apart from our own website.
Yeah.
So we sell it directly to the consumer, B2C. People go on the website, to our Hump Group website. They buy it online. We ship it next day, wherever in the UK.
But so in terms of the benefits, then I mean, it's quite obvious that the fresh is always best.
Yes.
But do we still get benefits from the ones that we buy from the stores? Because it is.
Yes, absolutely. Because now the UHT, that's ultra high temp. So that's got its place for when you just want a camel milk, which is also, I might add, non-allergenic for most people. So even those who aren't looking for a therapeutic benefit are looking for a non-allergenic milk. That's a fine one to use. But of course, I always say the best camel milk to get is the one that you can get the easiest, with the exception of the UHT, unless you just want it for whatever reason, like I said. But you can get powder, and many, many children are benefiting very well from powder, which has a very long shelf life. And see, I hear from thousands and thousands of people around the world now. I have for years on a regular basis on their use of camel milk. So you can get the fresh, raw, if you're from a safe source, which I emphasize, in a country where they have access to that, which we do in America. We ship raw frozen milk in bottles to your door now, 2 days, overnight if you want. Amazing. And you can get pasteurized, which could be spray dried for powder, freeze dried for powder, or just pasteurized, in a typical type of way. You can get that a lot of places. So I always say the best camel milk you can get at first is the easiest one to get, but if that doesn't work for your particular health situation, then you need to work your way toward the least pasteurized and the most close to nature. There's a woman that had diabetes. She actually is a Palestinian heritage. She lives in America. And she got adult onset diabetes, and she had a lot of problems. She was on 5 to 7 medications. She heard about camel milk. She tried it. It did help her, but then she realized she had to actually have the fresh, raw milk from the camel for the best benefit. She bought her own camel herd. She has it in California. She's been off almost all these medications now. Her hand swelling went down, all these things, amazing. So, again, I don't give medical advice, but I'm giving you advice based on my science, discoveries, my research, and then those of published scientists as well.
And is there studies on how much trial and error, or is this again down to individuals? You just got to try it out yourself. How much do you take? How much can you consume, and for how long?
Well, this is what everybody needs to know. There is a section in my book called A User's Guide to Camel Milk, in my book Camel Crazy. Will tell you all of these things, the health conditions that it works for, and there's more too, and then how much to take for how long and what type of form, X, Y, and Z. But basically, there is science on this because there have been studies on diabetes out of India. There's studies on many different health conditions out of countries that have camels and have scientists that, are aware of how important the camel can be. So I always say, like in my lectures in my book, this is the scientific published literature, but then the anecdotal. This is what I hear, this is what we come across. So I distinguish between the two. But there's room for much more science because, like for autism, there is a clinical trial. There have been other trials. And for food allergies, there have been trials. And
I mean,
we just need more.
Yeah. Is there an example that you could give us on the difference between cow and camel milk benefits?
Yes. Now, in my opinion, milk is the amazing substance, that life is based on. Almost all animals give milks to their young. It's the best substance on earth because it starts the species of whatever it is from birth onward. So it has incredible, antibodies, nutrients, all these things that species need to grow. So I consider all milk as good milk. However, for your health condition, there are plenty of health conditions, people that cannot handle cow milk or to a lesser extent goat milk.
But do you think this is because it's been so processed and pasteurized, and maybe that isn't the same for the camel milk as yet?
That is part of it, but that's not the only reason. So many people have reported that they benefit from raw cow milk while they cannot tolerate it in more processed forms. And of course, you have these feedlots of cows in America. They're raised on antibiotics, they're standing in mud, and they take all that milk and just pasteurize it. It's not really kept clean in the beginning. So I don't advocate that.
Yeah, but in terms of vitamin, and minerals, the vast difference. Would you?
Well, it's that, but it's also more than that. So, like for camel milk, it does have amazing vitamins and minerals, like a lot of milks do. But camel milk has some very unique qualities. So, first of all, camelids only have a certain kind of nanobody that is found in sharks and camelids only. So these have very tiny antibodies we call nanobodies, and they can actually
I'm sorry, I just got to stop you there. You just said sharks. It's in camels and sharks.
Camelids, which is also llamas, alpacas, vicuñas, and camels, and sharks. So these are the interesting nanobodies that science is using. They're looking at them for immunotherapy, for snake bite treatments, things like this. Yes. And but it's more than that even though those are very small and they're thought to be able to penetrate human tissue better than other antibodies and kill antigens, which you might, call a pathogens, which we might call a germ. But then the camel milk has antiviral, anti-tumor, anti-fungal, antioxidant properties. It also has GABA, which may exert a calming effect on the brain, which is a common thing that even Bedouins report. And then, of course, a lot of autistic people, it calms them.
You also experienced that firsthand as well.
Yeah, and probiotics. And then for the milk itself, all the animal milks have, the typical species we drink, they have insulin. But the camel milk is encased in a micelle that is like a different kind of an encasement, and the globules are larger. Yeah. So there may be a reason why the insulin in camel milk survives in the human stomach, unlike others.
Well, there's so much there to look into. But before I come back to Mudassar about the Bedouin experience, I just wanted to ask again, Christina, a little bit about in your book, it said something about the camel feels the soul. Tell us a little bit about what that means. And
yes, wonderful. It's been my privilege to spend all this time among Bedouin and nomadic cultures now, which I've done a lot of. And part of my thing I wanted to do with the book, Camel Crazy, is give a voice to them because people ignore camels a lot and they're keepers and they're under threat, but they are amazing. And so the camel is legendary in that it has so many attributes that other animals don't seem to have according to humans. Like the camel, it will feel your soul is what some person says, and it will form a bond with you, and it has a prodigious memory. And some people think it has the intelligence of an 8-year-old child, which is highly intelligent for an animal species. And I gathered this research among people who are veterinarians and camel handlers and experts, and then some science research. So the camel, it's regarded as a family member, it's regarded as a healer, and it's regarded as nature's pharmacy by many of these cultures. And when I travel among these cultures globally, these are people in Mongolia, these are people in Kazakhstan, Morocco, the Sahara Desert, India, and they all say the same things about how they use camel products, like the hair, burn the hair to stop your nose bleeding, use the milk to help with jaundice, like all these things. And they don't know each other, and they don't even know the others exist.
That's brilliant.
And it's just really an amazing repository of wisdom. So my goal is to share that. And so Camel Crazy is kind of an adventure story where I go among these wonderful cultures.
Fantastic, and we have that more in depth in your book, Camel Crazy. So we're going to go to Mudassar. If you tell me a little bit more about this experience you have as a Bedouin Were you living in a tent and, living a very natural, rural kind of lifestyle? Tell us about that.
Well, as I say, I've been going to the Middle East now, to the GCC specifically now for the last 21 years, 2004 when I go down on a regular basis, whether it's to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, or even to the UAE and other parts of the GCC. And in terms of the Bedouin lifestyle, it's a very, very simplistic lifestyle, but also it has immense value. You don't understand the beauty of life unless you live with the Bedouins. I say that very profoundly.
But do you think that this whole well-being thing and this trying this milk is really an overall effect of the lifestyles that we live? We live a very stressful, very heavy on, full-on lifestyle we live. We don't have any breaks, and that time is kind of gone. We've lost time. We lose track of time, and so maybe going back to a very simple lifestyle, eating food and drinking food that is not processed or pasteurized, is overall. Greatness, goodness for your body.
No, right.
So I get that, going back to those, the simple life is going to 100% have a benefit to it. But what was the wisdom and other things that we can learn that we can apply to our lives now?
Well, I mean, how long do we have?
I mean, well, you give us what you can for now.
How about 5 points, and I'll do 5 points, and then we'll have 10 glorious short points together.
I mean, nowadays as well, don't forget the Middle East has become very much advanced and economically as well. It's growing, rapidly, and they have great economic growth. So that they do have similar lifestyles, probably like we have in the West in terms of work and things like that. So what they do is, generally speaking, they go out camping during the weekends, and they go with their families. And most tribes,
and is that the wealthier families as well? Is that part of the culture?
No, it's part of the culture. So most families or they call them tribes, qabail, tribes in Arabic, in English, sorry. They tend to have their own sort of like desert camps in the desert, and everyone has like a different setup depending on the family and where you are and so on and so forth. So that use the weekend. We might go shopping on the weekend, or go to a coffee shop in the city centre, or go to a different city. These guys, or the Bedouins, go out to the desert for the weekend. So they go, Thursday evening, and they come back.
And are you talking about everyday people? I mean, people that work in offices and other places, in retail, in public places, in public sectors, civil service?
Yes.
Are you talking about these people?
Yes.
Because if you're a Bedouin, you're a Bedouin.
No, they have Bedouins that live constantly out there, in the desert or in the tent. But you have like families that live like in the city, and they go to the desert on the weekends as a retreat. So when that they leave their issues or their lives behind in the city, the busy lives that they have on a daily basis, and just go to relax. And they have, in the winter, they have these very beautiful campfires. They have camels there. They sleep in the desert. So like it's going back to the roots.
I mean, what do they do other than relaxing? Oh, is that is that the cure? Is that the medicine we need?
No, they switch off. I mean, when I first went, when I first had that experience about 20 odd years ago, I didn't even take my phone with me into the desert. I was just there. I had no communication. There's no TV. There's nothing there. Just like desert. Just desert, and you had like the tent set up there. So it becomes like a very, very sociable gathering. Family members come together. People are very hospitable. They're very welcoming.
And I guess you're forced to speak.
That as well.
Speak to one another.
So the first thing they do is when you go to they offer you camel milk, as a welcome to their tent and to their place, and you drink that, and then it gets passed around within the majlis of people who are there. But also at the same time, the culture is so rich, and it has so much significance. We talk about it all day, in terms of like etiquette, and how they are respectful to their guests. It's a different level, no matter who you are, whether you're rich or poor, or whether you're from any other background, as well. So coffee and dates are very important part of the culture.
Yes.
So whenever you go to a traditional any Khariji or any Gulf person's house, whether it's in Qatar or Dubai, UAE, or in anywhere in the GCC, they offer you coffee first, and it's rude not to accept. It's rude, very rude, right? and it can be
Okay,
very
we'll make a
offensive. You
note
can
of
make or
that.
break. You can make or break the relationship with your host.
Oh wow, okay, so that's serious.
It's very serious. They take it very seriously. They coffee very seriously. But we're not talking coffee like we have here in the West, or we have like in the coffee shops, the big glasses or the lattes or flat whites or whatever we drink, or cortados. The coffee is served in a small glass. They call it it's called a funjan. A small glass is about this big, roughly, approximately. The person who serves the coffee, he comes up to you, and there's an etiquette behind that too, hospitality, the wisdom behind that too, because it's about respecting your guests when they're in your majlis, in your presence, yani. And with that, they serve the coffee, the glass, with the right hand, as our Christian teaches us, serve with the right, and then they pour with the left and they serve with the right, and that's given to the guest.
The guest, yeah.
And with that, they have dates. So
Yes.
dates are usually in a nice bowl, and they normally start say igda, which means
Yeah,
eat
yeah.
the dates. Igda is like a sign.
Yeah,
Get
I mean,
started on the
I've
dates.
kind of experienced that as well. Where they give you coffee and dates. I mean,
Yes.
Dates in itself also is another
Very nutritious, yes,
very
nutritious.
nutritious,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's got so many health benefits and stuff. But I just wanted to quickly go back to Christina a little bit about, I remember, when we were talking like in about the research and stuff, you've done a bit more research on not just the milk. So if you could tell us a little bit about your other that you've done other parts on the
Yes.
camel.
The milk definitely opened up my horizons into the fullness of the camels and the fullness of the culture. So I have really expanded my world and my scope, so to speak, to encompass not just the camels, but the nomadic people and the challenges. There are political challenges to them. There are agrarian soil challenges, economic challenges, health challenges. There's a lot of droughts in some of these places, which is followed by floods sometimes. So some of the people in Africa are turning from cows to camels right away, sooner than I expected. But yeah, so I keep up on these things, and then I also keep up on all the uses of the camel and then the importance economically. So often I will lecture at like business desert economy conferences where I can talk about, look, this is a resource that you have. This is the projected market, which in camel milk right now is projected to grow by 2030 to $13 billion globally.
Yeah.
And then these are some of the ways to use it.
But did you do a study on the urine of the camel?
I did not, but because it was a funny story though. Years ago, I heard, people in Saudi Arabia, there's a lady that talks about camel urine, and I was like, camel urine, and this is a thing in camel world. I will hear things, and I'll think, years ago, I will think that's not possible. Oh, that's just a myth. Oh, just whatever. Then I turn out, I actually meet people that have done these things, and I'm like, never discount a camel and its power. So I did
Everything,
meet,
all camel.
yeah, I did hear from many places that they have clinics in certain parts of the Middle East, Central Asia, where they use camel urine and camel milk in a cocktail, which I kind of mentioned in my book, with the appropriate warnings, because camel urine, you've got to be careful with that. The WHO indicates don't drink it, etc. But I'm not one to interfere in nomadic traditions. I just kind of report on what they do. So it is used in many places and as an anti-tumor, anti-cancer property. And Dr. Fatin Khorshid in Saudi Arabia, she's a person that is a researcher on this, scientist. There's also another camel urine scientist there. So yes, I actually know 2 top camel urine scientists now.
Wow, that's wonderful. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not so excited about that part of the study.
I know, but
We're just getting used to the camel milk.
I know, this is why. There's another thing too fascinating. I always heard before, if you grew up on camel milk, you cannot be anesthetized properly when you're going to have surgery or whatever.
What does that mean?
Somali community, like they can't put you under, anesthesia.
Oh, yes, okay.
And I thought, that's got to be ridiculous, or something they did back in the day in whatever country with bad anesthesia or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
No, now I've met a woman, and she's not the only one, from the Somali culture. She grew up there. She grew up on camel milk. She has surgery regularly in La Jolla area, these doctors. And, FGM is a thing that's been a challenge in some countries, and you have to have surgery if it doesn't go well. So she's had surgery many times, and they can hardly ever put her out for the surgery.
Oh my
with
goodness.
anesthesia.
That's very fascinating. How is that possible?
Yes. So I do also do research that I have in my papers, like on the halal thing, like the halal economy, because it's growing, and how camel milk and the halal lifestyle can benefit, from the use
I'm
of
just
camels.
wondering, how's that possible? How could you have surgery without it?
They managed to get her partly under here and there, but they had to struggle with it. And she's really an amazing woman. She's an incredible lady. And
I see.
so
She
I've met
sounds
some
this.
people that are absolutely amazing, and I've learned never downplay the incredible assets of this animal that we still know not nearly enough about. Oh, and to the other point, I have a funny British story. I was being driven here for a Mongolian Camel Day event I did here by a Mongolian person who lives here. He said when he moved here from Mongolia, he thought, oh, I'll go out in the countryside and have a barbecue, which they do there. They just are nomadic people too. So he thought, I'll go out and get a barbecue. He goes out on some land. He starts barbecuing. Oh, who shows up? The police showed up. You cannot do that here. This is private land. He goes, what do you mean? What do you mean? I just did this like I do in every... No, no, this is regulated. You can't do it. And there is research actually showing like forest bathing, going out and exposure to a forest. There's research from Kenya showing that nomadic children had better health than settled children. So these things of nature, I do include that in my lectures to do these things.
In some ways, some people would say it's old ways of doing things, but to be honest, it's the authentic and very natural healing ways which we're kind of going back to, because we have been living a certain lifestyle a certain way and in certain places, but now I guess we are exploring and checking things and going back to somewhat to what our old traditions. Anyhow, we are coming to the end of our lovely conversation, but I'm gonna have
May I just make a small point about the urine, if you don't mind, just for the benefit of the viewers. I've not tried camel urine before. I've not had any need to, right?
Quickly, please,
but at the same time as well, there's a hadith as well, authentic hadith, probably saying that when there was some, if I remember correctly, I might not remember the whole hadith, but the hadith is when some visitors came outside, I think, to the city, and they were experiencing worms in the stomach, and the Prophet recommended to them to drink camel urine.
Oh gosh, I've never heard of this. This is all new to me.
So it's a hadith as well, and we need to be respective of the hadith as well. It's not just someone saying some baloney or some naysaying. It's a hadith as well. And a Muslim, we believe in both in the Quran and the hadith. We can't just pick and choose what we want to hear and just say everything else is not for us. So we have to accept wholeheartedly.
Yes, we do.
And no one's perfect. Obviously, we get that. Everyone makes mistakes. We're all human beings and so on. We all have a bad day at the office. It happens. It's part of human nature, human life.
I mean, we're all learning.
Of course,
forever growing, and learning so much about the benefits of this milk, and how much this animal has. It's got so much goodness that we can learn and benefit from. In general, we learn so much from animals anyhow, and then specifically the camel.
But specifically as well, if I may interrupt you, the camel urine is also used to help treat cancer patients. So they tend to go on, as Christina said, to many centers in the Middle East. There's some centers that do operate there. They tend to mix the milk with the urine, and they have cancer treatment, and it works.
Well, we need a lot more science on that to just say it works, but. The answer is more science. Safety in the meantime, but more science.
I mean, I suppose, this is great that you guys are experimenting and trying it out yourself and sharing your experience. But anybody else that's, watching and listening would be advised that they should also just get this medically backed and checked as well through medical professionals as well, just for their own sake and their own journey and their own experiments. But we are going to have a quick fire round. So these questions I'm going to fire out to you guys, and it's going to be to both of you. The same question, if you just quickly answer. So I'll go with Christina first. Camel ride or camel milkshake?
Camel ride.
Camel ride.
Camel ride.
Yes.
Camel ride over milkshake. Oh, okay. All right, fine. One food item you'd pair with camel milk?
Well, dates is too obvious, but I love fresh fruit and make it in a smoothie.
Fresh fruit in a smoothie. Okay, nice.
I always go for dates.
Dates. Okay, well, yes.
It's a sunnah as well, dates.
Yes, definitely. Facts, right. So about the camel, things that we don't know.
We don't know the actual, the depth of its intelligence. We don't know the medical potential that it has.
Facts about the camel that we don't know.
We don't know, I guess, the level of intelligence that they hold, and also as well the nutritional value of the milk.
The nutrition value. Okay, right. So, what's the most surprising reaction you'd had from someone trying camel milk for the first time, Christina?
How much they liked it. And this isn't just one person, this is basically hundreds now. The first thing was fear, and then they, oh, it just tastes like milk. Oh, it's good.
And Mudassir?
Sorry, when I meant they don't know the nutritional value, we know the nutritional value now because obviously it's in research, but we don't appreciate it. That's
Yeah.
why I meant, sorry, just to
Yeah,
backtrack.
we do have nutritional studies.
Yes, but I
Yeah.
mean, Christina has done all that in her book, so it is there. We don't appreciate it. That's what I meant to say, just for the
Yeah,
benefit
no,
of
that's
the
fine.
viewers.
That's fine. We're still learning about it.
Yes,
you know?
yes, of course. So the other
Something
question-
that you know about people's reaction over the years that you.
Oh right, it tastes just like milk.
Oh,
Oh, and here's
It
another
tastes just
one.
like milk.
What does llama milk taste like? Why do they ask me that? I don't know. Nobody milks llamas that I've asked.
do you
I mean,
get people associating a faith to camel milk, or they're worried? You know,
a faith or a what?
a faith. You know, in terms of like you
Oh,
know,
a fate.
faith.
Oh,
Faith,
faith.
as in like it's an Islamic thing only, as if it's not camels are not for.
Oh
any-
no,
for
no,
anyone.
no. I mean,
No.
we've catered for all Muslims and Muslims. You know, we don't
Yeah,
discriminate.
no. I'm
so,
saying,
so it's,
has people's reaction? Have you had that? You know,
My situation is I get people from all faiths, and I'm talking about Buddhist, Hindu. I'm talking to every faith. Most people don't associate with the faith, but the Muslims, of course, know that it's good and that they're supposed to know about it, but they know that they don't have enough knowledge on it in general.
Yeah.
But and then the Rika people believe they're created by Lord Shiva to take care of camels. But other than that, people don't really think about it as faith. They think about it as, wow, interesting, a cool thing.
brilliant. Okay, so most powerful things someone can say to a parent of an autistic child.
What can I do for you?
Mudassir?
I mean, we've had so many stories from autistic parents with autistic kids, and what they come and say is that if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't know about the camel milk.
Oh wow. Well, that's a good answer.
That's what
and
keeps us
that's
going. It's a passion.
Yeah.
help others.
Okay. So one myth about autism you wish would just disappear forever.
The new myth is that it's a superpower always. It is not. There are many people with autism, highly, highly intelligent. Most of them, if you test them nonverbal methods, they're more intelligent than the average. But it is not just a superpower. It's a thing where a lot of people struggle very badly, are not employed, or in pain. So it may be trendy and cute to think it's always a superpower. It is not, and they need support and they need help. And we don't want to cure who they are. We want to help them become who they want to be.
Interesting. And Mudassir?
The same thing. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Okay, not to worry. We'll go to the next one, which is what's the most random but genius fact an autistic person has ever shared with you?
My son actually came up by himself. He said, Mom, there's a certain kind of kid that looks like they'll benefit from camel milk. They have puffy lips, they have rings around their eyes, and they've got there's that kind of kid. That kind of kid, Mom. And I was like, he's right. And it's probably related to inflammation. He was like 14 when he said this.
And it's wonderful that he identified
He
that.
did
He
it.
recognized
He
it.
did it.
And Mudassir?
I mean, similar, autistic kids that I've tried the milk from us is they say, I'm going to let my friends know about it so they can try it as well.
Yeah. Okay, so last one here. Camel milk or cow milk? Which one wins the health battle? I mean, we've kind of discussed this, but...
Camel all the way. It's all about the camels.
Camel milk all the way.
I love cows. I grew up on the farm with cows at times. Cows have my respect, but I'm sorry, the camel is queen and king.
Wonderful. It's been a great conversation. Everything camel has been discussed here, and I really appreciate you have been our guest today. It's been fascinating to learn about your own journeys, some of the trials and triumph you've gone through. It's brought the greatness out today, and you're here today sharing, giving back to the community what they're missing out on and what they could benefit from. Essentially, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Our work has been about, like I say, to help people around the world, families especially. And we're not doing it for the money. We're not making millions and billions of dollars. It's to help people, genuinely help
100%.
people,
It's-
and to also have that support mechanism. And our intention has always been to leave behind something, a legacy. People remember, you for something, generally something good. And we're happily making impact around the world, and helping people that need help the most.
Brilliant.
That's
No,
where we are.
100%. And if there was just lastly one thing, if you could, if you wanted to share with the people that were listening today, Christina, what would the message be?
The message is there are many times you're going to feel hopeless if you have a child with autism, or sometimes if you're a person with autism. Many young men with autism drink camel milk and they reach out to me and they're great. But there's many situations in life you're going to feel hopeless. My message is reach out to people you don't know. They may have a different faith than you. They may not look like you. They may not have even the same language as you. These people can do amazing things. Community can do amazing things. Form the community that you want in your life. Give people a chance to help you. Just because people you know don't help you much, there's people out there that would.
Brilliant, brilliant. Great advice there. Thank you so much, Christina Adams, for sharing with us. And Mudassar Yassin, thank you so much as well. And, for everybody watching and listening, just keep sharing and, keep talking and keep sharing, and you'll be connected to the right people eventually. Thank you so much for today's show.
Thank you. Thank you as well. Thank you for having us.